Santa Samji Badu Luna Yusuf Jabala Jodan Samji Jodan Chanju Badu Dani Kyabzu Che Dagi Jetsu Gebe Suna Ke Kala Peche Sanje Rupra Chu Sache Jodan Sake Jonan Chanju Bardu Dani Kyabzu Che Dagi Jetsu Gebe Suna Ke Nula Penche Sanje Rupra Chu Sanje Jodan Sake Jonan Chanju Bardu Dani Kyabzu Che Dagi Jetsu Gebe Suna Ke Drula Penche Sanje Rupra Chu Jodan Sake Jonan Chanchu Baidu Dani Kapsu Che Dagi Jitsu Kipe Sunaki Drula Penche Sanje Dubra Shu Kada Nyoke Sunchen Tamje De Wadan De Wei Gendan Dubra Kiche Dunyan Dunyan Gyodan Gawa Kiche Dunyan Dewa Dame Gawa Kiche Nirin Jadan Nidan Dewa Danyan Lana Bhagya Kadan Yabe Sunchen Tamche Dewa Dewe Gendan Debra Gilche Dunyan Dan Dunyan Ki Dudan Dewa Gilche Dunyan Dewa Dame Dewa Gilche Nirin Jadan Nidan Dewa Danyan Lana Bhagya Kandam Yambe Senjen Tamche Dewa Dam Dewe Kindan Dembra Keje Dunya Dan Dunya Ye Kyudan Dewa Kyuje Dunya Mebe Dewa Dame Dewa Kyuje Nebe Chadan Nidan Dewa Danyon La Nebra Worlds of the 10 directions reside Tathagatas of the 3 times. Before each of you, lions among humans, I prostrate joyfully with body, speech, and mind. By the power of this aspiration to know Bodhis, all conquerors appear vividly in my mind. With as many bodies as there are atoms in all lands, I prostrate to all you conquerors. In each atom of Buddha's numerous as atoms, all in the midst of the heirs of the Buddhas, thus I conceive of this Dharmata to as completely filled with you conquerors in this realm, with infinite oceans of praise and oceans of diverse melodies. I sing the excellent qualities of all you conquerors and praise all of you gone to bliss. With the best flowers and best garlands, best music, ointments, and excellent parasols, finest lamps and superior incense, I offer to you conquerors. With excellent garments and best fragrances and sandalwood powder, heap high as Mount Meru, all wondrous offerings perfectly arranged, I offer to you conquerors. These vast and unequal offerings to each and every one of you conquerors. With the power of conviction and noble deeds, I prostrate and offer to all you conquerors all the harmful deeds that I have done with my body, speech, and mind. Under the power of desire, hatred, and ignorance, I confess each and every one of them. I rejoice in all the meritorious deeds of all conquerors in the 10 directions, and the heirs of the Buddha. Solitary realizes you are still in training and beyond, and all. You who are lamps of the worlds of the 10 directions, who have unobstructedly attained Buddhahood through the stages of Bodhi. O you who are my protectors, please turn the unexhaled wheel of Dharma. With palms together, I earnestly beseech you who may intend to manifest final nirvana, please remain for as many eons as there are atoms in the world, for the happiness and well-being of all wandering beings. Whatever slight virtue that may have been gathered through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching, I now dedicate it to complete Bodhi. This ground sprinkled with scented waters and strewn with flowers, adorned with the supreme mountain for all continents. I visualize as a Buddha land and offering. May all wandering beings experience such a pure land. To the Gurus who possess the three kayas, I offer the outer, inner, secret, and thusness offerings with my body, wealth, and all phenomenal existence. Please grant the unsurpassed supreme attainment, whatever slight virtue I may have gathered, through prostrating, offering, confessing, rejoicing, requesting, and beseeching. I now dedicate it all to complete Bodhi. Om Gurudevada Kinirana Mandala Pratecha Som. Please turn the wheel of Dharma of the greater, lesser, and common vehicles in accordance with the dispositions and mental capacities of sentient beings. Durje Chanjin Tilin Naroda, Amita Popadu Chidun, Kakabin Sudin Savela, Misha Sanjula, Mayidam Chokana, Sovata Sotak Yujin, Kya Prengi, Dormizami, Kapetan Sugana, Katsu, make a what the Jam, Baji, the Kumbushan, the Sami Kilema. Jinji Loshi to Jijin, again, a person, they can simply take it over change. Jin, something like this, I don't believe, yes, a joking. Imagination should have the kind of number. Kicking just a dog, the kid, so good, and I said, Yaki put on the Sanjay Kunji Govani. And Saint Jogun was in Donze, but Zawe Lame Shabla, so. So, I believe now we did 110, verse 110, and also looked at Kempo Kumpel's commentary on this. So basically, to summarize, it is saying, with regards to the objection that this investigating, this analyzing will go on to no end, Shantideva's response is, you misunderstand this role of investigating in the role of investigating in this context. The role of investigating is not because something can be discovered at the end, that there will be something there, but rather this role, the purpose of this investigation is to investigate long enough, far back enough, to dispel the delusion or the confusion of the existence of an impossible self, a self that exists in and of itself. That kind of self doesn't exist. Specifically, Shantideva says, when objects, when through analysis, we see that objects do not exist in and themselves out there, then the subjects, which means the minds perceiving these objects, also we can understand don't exist substantially. And when we get to the point of understanding, seeing how objects and subjects don't exist in and of themselves, then the analysis also falls away. Of course, this analysis has to be done in the correct way. So the first line of 110, at least in the English, it says, if phenomena are truly analyzed. So if phenomena are truly analyzed, if things are truly skillfully analyzed, then this kind of analysis is like we say, the kind of medicine that when you take, don't produce side effects, but instead, after it has addressed or taken care of the disease that it was prescribed to counteract, then both the disease and the medicine also cancel each other out. Likewise, the disease here is confusion, not seeing clearly. Then the analysis is prescribed as the medicine that we have to take, skillful analysis. So when the skillful analysis has pacified, has dispelled the confusion and pacified suffering, then the medicine also disappears. In 111 and 112, these two verses, Shantideva again kind of raises another objection. These objections, I think the basis of these objections have already been addressed throughout this chapter. It seems like somehow Shantideva thinks that in his audience, there are his fellow monks who hold different positions who are still unsatisfied. It's as if he could tell they're still unsatisfied. So then almost it seems like randomly, he turns to them and he says, okay, you still have this objection. Okay, you still have that objection. I think in part Maybe this is what's going on, because not with any disrespect at all. I think if this was composed as a systematic essay, even if it is essay in verses, you might have to grade Shantideva, maybe with a B or a B minus, because he seems to jump here and there. Right? So if on that basis, of like rules of composition and argument, then you'll say you are all over the place. But we have to remember, this was an impromptu teaching he was giving. Yeah, an impromptu teaching that he was giving. And so just looking out there, he sees his friends, his classmates, and so he's responding to. And so for us, it's a little hard to follow. But that's okay, I think, if we remember the context in which these verses were composed and shared by Shantideva with his fellow students at Nalanda. (111) and 112 appears to be addressing still those who insist that either subjects or objects can exist in and of themselves, exist from their own side, exist independent of other factors, that they are truly existing. So whenever we see in, especially Madhyamaka teachings, the word true is used, it is used in the sense of like concretely exists. Truly exists, that means concretely exist. This word true here is not related to like the truth that we're looking for. Here, true almost means like concrete existence. So in starting on verse 111, here it says, those who say that both are true, meaning both the object and the subjects are truly existent. Shantideva said, those who say that, it's hard really for them to maintain their position. And here he's going to appeal to some kind of like widely accepted logic, especially like in Nalanda. So he says, those of you who still insist on maintaining that either subjects or objects or both are truly existent, concretely existent, you cannot really maintain this thesis, this position, if you think a little bit about it. He says you just have to think a little bit about it, and you'll see how your position is cannot be defended. So 111, if consciousness reveals the truth of things, on what grounds, in turn, does consciousness exist? Continuing to 112, if knowledge objects show that consciousness exists, what is it that shows that they exist? Meaning those knowledge objects, objects that are known. If both subsist through mutual dependence, both will thereby lose their true existence. So here, I don't know, rather than saying, oh, yep, Shantideva won, I think for me, it's more like, okay, now we are learning, how Shantideva and the Madhyamaka tradition defines these terms when they use them. So here it says, true existence, or as I don't know, I think I will use maybe, because we associate true with truth, truth that liberates you, all of that. So here maybe I will use like concrete existence. So both will lose the concrete existence, or you cannot continue to think of them as self-existing, concretely existing. Under what circumstance you cannot think that as a subject and an object, a mind, and what this mind perceives cannot be thought of as two concretely existing objects. Here, based on Shantideva's arguments or his use of logic, we see that he says that if they are dependent on each other, once they depend on something else, you cannot say that they exist in and of themselves. You cannot say they exist entirely through their own power. Now they're dependent on something else. And so if both subsist, if both exist through mutual dependence, then neither of them can be said to have independent existence, true existence, according to the vocabulary used here. So 113 uses an example. If without a son, a man cannot be father, whence indeed will such a son arise? There is no father in the absence of a son. Just so, the mind and object and its object have no true existence, have no independent existence, have no existence that are separate from each other. So this is the ancient version of that story that I sometimes tell, a teacher asking a kid, a kindergarten kid, how old is your father? The kid says, 5. The teacher said, no, how old is your father, not you? Presumably the kid is 5. And the kid says, 5. The teacher said, you are 5. How can your father be 5? And the child said, if I'm 5, how can my father be more than 5 or less than 5? So this child must be Shantideva's Tugu or something, Yeah, so here, let's say you say, oh, Han, has a son, and then you can say, well, but Han exists, right? Maybe Han, the father, is not more than 5 years old, but Han exists, But there, now we have to switch context, which is, well, what is this Han that you say exists? Well, in a way, you could say, well, he exists in relation to me, the perceiver of Han, right? So then in that sense, you could say, for you, I have existed as long as you have known me. This is really to show how, there isn't like a person running around out there that I think here what it's saying is that at the end of the day, it's not really the hun that is running around out there that I need to be most concerned with, or the table that is out there, or the mountain that is out there, or the boss that is out there, or the obstacle that is out there, or the excitement that is out there, but rather my perception, my experience, and the way that I mistakenly conceive of all these things. That is where our attention should be. In the sense that, the take-home lesson from this argument about true existence or concrete existence, and how when we understand that the relationship is mutual dependence or interdependence, then we have a way out of our suffering. So the take-home lesson here is, again, the Buddha wasn't a physicist, explaining things from that material perspective. Is there or isn't there a table out there? I think insofar as that, yeah, sure, of course there's a table out there, But what I perceive to be that table, that perception, it exists totally in relation to the mind that is perceiving it. And once we understand that, right, then our relationship with happiness and suffering need not be so oppressive anymore, need not be so heavy anymore. So this is my personal kind of understanding of this material. So you don't just believe what I say. You continue to investigate and look at all the other teachings. At least the way that I can relate to these teachings, when it says that, things don't exist in and of themselves. Things are not existing out there. Again, I do not feel like I need to think, that mountain that I perceive, it's actually just in here. It's not saying that there is no mountain out there. It's saying whether there is or there isn't a mountain out there, that's secondary to how the perception of mountain, when I have it, is fundamentally arising from within my own mind. And all the happiness and suffering, attachment and aversion that comes with the perception of this mountain, they are from within us. Manage that. Don't get distracted by the mountain out there. Okay, concretely, like now, I have a computer problem with the camera not cooperating, right? Is the Buddha saying, oh, know that this problem is only in your mind, and then I solve the problem in my mind. Ooh, magically now the camera will work. No, he's not saying that. So maybe I, secretly hoped, oh, if I only perceive that this equipment failure is actually not truly existent, just existing in my mind. Then a few days later, when that problem doesn't exist in my mind anymore, I plug this camera in and miraculously, ta-da, problem solved. No. In fact, there are two sets of problems. One set, I need to Google and find a solution and try pressing this button, that button, and all of that. That one, that set of problem, Buddha is not concerned about. Buddha says, call a technician. Buddha says, you go repair it. What Buddha is concerned about is when equipment failure and our emotional response to equipment failure. That's where he is concerned about. That's where he's teaching us how to be free from the problem of equipment failure. So there are two levels of being free from the problem of equipment failure. One, either yourself Google, checking Google to see if other people have shared tips on solving this problem. Two, find a teenager and tell them to fix the problem for you. Or three, take it to a shop. Four, time to get a new computer. So 4 solutions of that sort, that the Buddha isn't addressing those kinds of problems. What the Buddha is addressing is when there's equipment failure, can you see that your experience of this equipment failure in a way, it's really not about the equipment. It's your confused response that comes out of habit when things don't go your way. And even when things go your way, we get more deluded about the nature of things. So Buddha says, look carefully, watch carefully. When things go your way, how you are misled. When things don't go your way, how you are misled. By yourself misled, okay? No one is out there trying to mislead you. Or at least in this system, we're not concerned about who else is out there to try to mislead you. That is the first set of problems. In fact, I would say that the Buddha would even point out, even go stronger, not just what I said, but goes even stronger to say, actually, even this equipment failure, right? The Buddha would actually have us look even closer to that, like the first kind of problem, equipment failure. I think the Buddha also wants us to see how, can we see that our labeling, that there is equipment failure, is also based on our perception. In a way, right? When the camera doesn't work, we think, oh, it doesn't work. No, it's working perfectly. It's just working perfectly in another way. In a way that is useless to me at this point. Because that it has failed, it's not like mysteriously it has failed. Different causes and conditions has happened there. Now it is existing as it should exist. But how it should exist is different from when I bought it and when I was able to use it. So we have to see that this label of, oh, it doesn't work anymore, is based on my kind of like wanting it to work a certain way, then I have the label, oh, it's working. Oh, it's good. Now, oh, it's bad. Because everything, whether it's working or not working, those are labels that we put onto. In and of itself, so to say, the thing of itself, it is just as it is. Perfectly as it is, Yeah. So the camera, for the last, I don't know, 2 years I've had it, right? Because of me fixating on, oh, it it will always work this way. And me fixating on, oh, the computer is always going to work this way. When in fact, on a subtle level, camera is all the different parts that put it together. All those things are changing, 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 changing. The computer, all the different parts are changing, 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 changing. But because I've so been deceived by my own hope, it will not change, it will not change, it will not change, it will not change. Then when enough of the changes all kind of manifest, oh, why doesn't it work? This is so unfair. This is wrong. This is not wrong. This is just the nature of how this is. So in nature itself, nothing is useful or not useful. Nothing is working right or working wrong, only in relation to a perceiving mind with likes and dislikes, with attachment and aversion, that then all these labels become meaningful. But these labels are, and this is Shantideva's point, that these labels are so unreliable. Unstable. So now let us take a quick break.
Wage joare mum, wage joare mum. 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 Wage joare mum, wage joare mum.
114 and 115 is sort of the objection, raises the objection from another side. So he doesn't like, they don't like this father and son example. So then they say it's like a plant and a seed. So 114, the plant arises from the seed, you say, and through it is the seed deduced. So when you see a plant, you can say that there was a seed. So you can deduce this way. So it says that, so it is just the same with consciousness arising from its object. How can it fail to show the thing's existence? So this objection, comes in this form. So if we take this argument back to the father-son thing, you can say that because there is a son, you can deduce from there that there was a father. and therefore both must be true. Both must have independent existence. Shantideva's answer here, I think, is a little subtle. I'm not sure if I fully understand. So anyway, verse 115, he says, a consciousness that's different from the plant itself deduces the existence of the seed. And so here Shantideva says, actually, in the example in the argument that you just used, there are two things going on. One, the relationship between the seed and the plant. Two, which you did not account for, is what he's saying here, is the consciousness that is doing that job of seeing a plant, deducing that there is a seed. So he says, a consciousness that's different from the plant itself is doing the deduction that leads to the existence of the seed. That leads to the conclusion that a seed exists, because the consciousness perceives a plant, and then it says, oh, if there's a plant, there must have been a seed at some point. So what Shantideva is saying here is that while there is some legitimacy to saying, you see a plant, you can deduce that there is a seed somewhere earlier in this process. The case becomes weaker when you say, I see an object, or there's an object there. And if there's an object there, there must have been a subject somewhere. Right? He says the case for that is a lot weaker. Here, as far as I can understand, it's basically what we, maybe in the modern time, what we normally call the chicken and the egg problem. Which one came first? That problem, that riddle, or that way of considering, did the chicken come first or did the egg come first, right? This is really a good way to illustrate the Shantideva's position, which is that relatively on the conventional level of things, you can say that at most you can say the chicken and the egg exist interdependently. They mutually rely on each other. There's no chicken without an egg. and there's no egg, right, without chickens. And so that's the conventional level. But ultimately, chicken and egg ultimately only exist as long as you do not analyze. When you start analyzing which one came first, you will end up without chicken and without egg. Then no breakfast. Don't eat the chicken, eat the egg. That's the breakfast part of it. Hey, to me, what it is saying, in my limited understanding, what it is saying on when you look at it from the absolute level, it is to say that whole question of asking which came first, chicken came first or egg came first, has no meaning on the absolute level. When we understand that they have to exist kind of in mutual dependence, then the question of which one came first is a question based on is question based on a very big assumption, which is that one of these two things or both of them can exist independent of each other. So what is being refuted when you look at this question from the absolute perspective is how no, neither of this can exist in and of themselves. Back to the father and son. By nature, these two terms is relational. And so when they are relational, when these two terms are relational, then when one side falls away, the other side also falls away. And to ask the question of which one came first, and to expect an answer of either this or that, that itself illustrates, that itself shows that we are insisting on the existence of things in way that they cannot exist. Uh, Starting from verses 116 to 141, we're going into this section that is back into Shantideva's debate mode. Basically, he's debating two ancient Indian Hindu philosophies. The first one is debating the issue of God, an all-powerful God, being posited as the ultimate cause of everything. Shantideva goes through the argument of how this God, which is not you, not me, as an external force, as the cause of all things, and then by implication, the cause of both happiness and suffering. Shantideva makes different arguments to show how that makes no sense at all. So that's one set of refutation in this section. The other set of refutation has to do with another system called the Sankhya, whereby they don't necessarily talk about God as a creator, as the first cause, but they do talk about how there are two ultimately existing forces, a primal substance and a primal person. So in other words, they have a form of body and mind that is said to exist as two types of eternal stuff, that when these two eternal stuff called Purusha, the primal person, Prakriti, the primal material stuff, when these two interact, then all of this come into existence. Shantideva also refutes that. And so this goes from 116 to about 140. So we're not going to spend, that much time going line by line for these two sections. And partly, I don't know if we need to do, but mainly because I have no ability to really give you, profound explanations of what's going on. But starting around 140, 139, 140, 141, starting from that point, is where is where you see why Shantideva needs to refute those two types of beliefs. It's not like he's anti-Hindu. It's just that those kinds of beliefs lead to certain conclusions about the nature of things that will impede our ability to change, our ability to remove our kleshas. So basically, all these positions that are refuted as wrong view, you can say that they are. Why are they wrong view? Because subscribing to those views impede our ability and commitment to changing, to removing kleshas, and to becoming free from kleshas. Yes, so today we're actually going to end here, and next week, Tuesday, I plan to meet, and Saturday as well, I plan to meet. I'm actually, I should be in the US by next Tuesday, but not yet home, but somewhere in the US. It's kind of a roundabout way to get back to North Carolina. I leave on Monday, so I leave Monterrey, Mexico on Monday. But Tuesday I should be able to have class, and Saturday as well. So we will end here today. So the last couple of weeks, especially, basically, I've gone to 5 different centers, back to back to back to back to back. And so have not had time to go investigate the equipment failure. Also have not had time to investigate more carefully, Shantideva's lines. But hopefully, by this coming Tuesday, as we go into this section of refuting the notion of there being a God as the first cause and the cause of everything, and refuting the idea that, rather than a personal God as a first cause, there are these two impersonal forces interacting and giving rise to everything. Why the Buddha, and here Shantideva, continuing in the Buddhist tradition, did not accept these views, considered these views to be detrimental to our development. I will try to brush up that they may be better able to share with you. At least that's the hope. Chanju Sem Chorem Poche Ma Ge Bana Ge Gyuje Ge Ba Nyam Ba Me Ba Yang One Gong Du Bell Show. Hata.
Muchas gracias.
Thank you.